Welcome to Sykes, the Bottom Line Pharmacy Podcast, your regular dose of pharmacy CPA advice to fuel your bottom line, featuring pharmacists, key vendors, and other innovators.
Your checks, yes, you can call me, because we the best, Sykes and Company. We the best, Sykes and Company. Your accounting is a mess, there's no need for you to stress. Go online and request from the best. We the best, Sykes and Company. We the best, Sykes and Company. Yes.
Speaking of taxes, I mean, Scott, you want to get into one of those subjects we were talking about? Because I mean, now it's pretty much the deadline, right? I mean, isn't it October for corporate filings?
9/15 for corporate, and then 10/15 for individuals. So, yeah, I mean, if you're a pharmacy out there and you hadn't filed your tax return yet, and you don't have a legitimate excuse, you got what, 13, 14 days, something like that.
And do your CPA a favor, or your accountant who's working on it, because it's due on the 15th. You can't bring it in on the 15th. I mean, we do actually do work when we do these, and they actually have to be reviewed and all of that. So really, if you don't have stuff for whatever reason to your people at this point, you need to do it. But
well, if I'm a bank, if I'm in Greco's shoes and I need numbers and they're just dragging their feet, I mean,
if you're
that's
looking
not a
to
good
sell
look.
or purchase a store that doesn't have their numbers in order,
Not a good
big
look.
problem.
Yeah, you'd actually be surprised. We see that quite a bit where people are, let's say May comes around and someone's trying to buy a store. You get the end of the year 2023 numbers like the P&L and balance sheet, but the taxes are on extension. And May, I guess maybe, but then we could sometimes get into July, August like this time, and they're still on extension. And that can really impact things a little bit, because most banks are going to approve a deal off the most recent tax year, then look at year to dates as a barometer about, the trend, how things are going. Is it kind of match up, yes or no, if you annualize it? But you would be surprised. We see a lot of those on extension. So then people will get a contingent approval, but then the tax return can come in different than the end of year P&L, and you could really have a mess on your hands. So I've never quite, maybe you guys can educate me a little bit. Like, what are some, other than just flat out not wanting to pay the taxes at that time, what other reasons do people have?
The main returns that we have, or that I'm personally working on right now, they're on extension, or for people that, and internally we do the return and we have it done on a preliminary basis and reviewed internal. They're just waiting as long as they can to make their profit sharing payment that's due when you file the return. So, and obviously that's a smart thing to do for cash flow purposes. You're able to do that. But other than that, and maybe a few other small things, Scotty, that's really the only excuse I know of.
Well, I think more or less it's just CPAs out there just drag their feet, or they're overworked, or
they don't have what they need to
they got
finish
more
it,
than they can handle, or whatever. Procrastinate. I mean, there's a lot of procrastinating CPAs out there too. So
I've just never, to me, it's best if you're, especially in the year, my own personal opinion from the bank's perspective, if you're looking to sell, you should have that tax return finished and done, and have those year to dates ready to go, so that when someone gets that approval, or they're in the process of that underwriting, or even preliminary discussions with the lender, to see if the transaction will work. Having those is just critical, because I don't see why you wouldn't, but we see it.
If you are someone that's selling, if you're selling, you have to. Everyone should try to keep their stuff up to date, obviously. But if you're selling, you've got to have all your X's, your T's crossed and all that. It's got to be right. It's got to be ready to go at any moment. Your financials, your accounting file, and your tax returns, and adjusted correctly, not just something on paper.
Hey, Scotty, Bonnie, how much are you guys still seeing a lot of people doing the profit sharing in the pharmacies, even in today's, world of
Oh, yeah. And I'll tell you why. First of all, we don't have a lot of extensions because we're holding the books every day, every month, every week type thing. So, we get those extensions out. We knock out the tax returns. But in terms of the profit sharing, yeah, we're seeing a lot of that.
That's good.
In fact, I got 2 clients implementing the cash balance plan this month for 24, but that was a big planning area last year because you were able to get the deduction for 23, the expense, and that would lower your tax due April, but you didn't have to pay it till now.
Right.
So it was a cash flow move for pharmacy owners out there.
Wow. Okay.
That had the cash, that wanted to bonus out their employees that way. Wanted to fund their retirement and so forth. So yeah, we did see quite a bit of that.
And especially with the margins being smaller these days and tighter, and some people having some cash flow issues. A lot of pharmacies can't do the profit sharing necessarily every year, but we normally see a lot of normal 401k plans that have that option. So they have the ability to do it if they feel like they can do it, or they can choose not to do it, which is perfect in my opinion. So they can, look and see how that year went. If they had a great year, they feel like they can handle it. And they have options even within that, like how much to do. But it can be huge for the owners if set up correctly.
That's good to hear that's still a viable option because, I feel like in especially today, there's like definitely 2 sides of the story that are going on. And I don't know, maybe 2 sides of the story is a bad way to say it, but there's definitely two sides of things. Maybe it's I know a lot of it is state dependent, on which states have some better Medicaid, better PBM reform and things like that. But, with the news of a lot of the Rite Aids and the Express Scripts, which I know we want to talk about today a little bit, we have been seeing some people are like, look, the underwater scripts have just gone up from the plans. And then we have some that are, hey, look, that is happening, but here's how we're doing well. So it really is a mixed bag.
So what are y'all seeing, Greco? What's the bank seeing there? You seeing two different kind of extremes, if you will?
Yeah, we are. We're seeing, so good news is we still have a lot of activity from buyers and sellers and transition. I think, Scotty, like that showed up in that breakfast talk that we did this summer at Syncora. There was, 150, 175 people there that were looking at probably selling or buying or looking at trying to figure out how to get it done. So we see good activity there. We do see some steadying of the numbers with regards to margins. Top line revenues are obviously down from a lot of people's financial. I think that's because the DIR fees are getting taken up from front. But we have seen a steadying where people are saying, look, I'm not seeing it as bad as last year. So it's, we're finding some areas of positivity there, but then there are some that are just, unfortunately, maybe their mix is leaning towards higher underwater reimbursements. And those people are saying, look, I don't know how this is going to continue. But, from a bank's perspective, it's always the ones that are going to cash flow and debt service that we're financing. And then, but we just see it from all angles and, that's just kind of where it is. I'm hoping that next year doesn't get worse.
Yeah, I'm definitely seeing, I think we've had multiple cold calls or people, having consultations with us in the last little bit here. Those trying to start up stores that are maybe backfill from some of this Walgreens closures. We also have a lot of, current clients that are looking to open another location because they see a need there and a opportunity with some of that. And then we actually see some cash flow crunches from some that are obviously, like you talked about, they're getting some of those patients coming in from it too. So
yeah, that is interesting. So some of the calls that we've got from existing clients in our portfolio or individuals who are seeing like a script lift, who are seeing the scripts come over. Most of that is driven in a need for working capital. So they're looking at maybe a month and a half worth of purchases of need of working capital. and there's a lot of options there for people. I mean, we have recently launched our Express Loan. People can go on our website on Live Oak and inquire about that. Yeah, so that's a nice
awesome.
thing.
Yeah,
that is a good thing. We have not seen as much of an uptick of the people requesting to do startups. We have seen a few expansions, but I think the thing that some people are kind of rooting through right now is what kind of prescriptions are they getting? I don't mean to say good or bad, but what's the spread on them? What's the mix on them? And I think that's something that's still probably getting rooted through a little bit.
That's a great
pharmacies point. Have to, in this environment, Greco, they have to be looking at every script and picking through those.
Yeah.
Unless you're just extremely high volume store and you're able to just kind of absorb some of that. But these other stores, normal pharmacies, you really have to pick through every one and know what you're feeling and whether you need to keep servicing them as a patient, unfortunately. I mean, is that what you guys are seeing?
Yeah, I think what we're seeing is ones where it was pretty much like the independent and then the chain. I think they kind of knew like what to expect, and now that they're getting them, they're figuring it out. But I think what's kind of throwing some people more off is when there was one that was, say, just far enough away where maybe they didn't service as many of those patients, so they were a little unaware of what kind of mix that might be. And then now that closure has happened or is going to happen, they're capturing those prescriptions and people are kind of figuring that out a little bit. But you're right. People are really having to look at, okay, what am I getting myself into with these? Yes, the volume is good, but is it good volume? And some people who have done a pretty thoughtful job of getting the right mix in their business, how is this going to affect it? So we are seeing a lot of that. But I think the Express Loans is a good option for people that are looking on the working capital. And like I said, the activity on the buying and selling, I still think that's the best way to step into a good cash flowing store that day one. And then you can plan for the changes and plan for some of the improvements that you want to do. But these Express Scripts change. I mean, these chain closures, they are still ongoing and they're going to impact people, I think we're waiting to see if it's a you can put the stamp of a good or a bad thing on it.
If someone's interested in the Express Loan, how long does that process take, start to finish, in a perfect scenario?
Greco? Well, the nice thing is they've created a online application, so you can basically just go to liveoak.com. You can go ahead and just Google the bank, Live Oak Bank. And you can go on and they have an online application that you can just go through.
You have to be a current customer of Live Oak, or
you don't? Nice.
No, you don't have to be. And yeah, so it's a nice. They've done a very thoughtful job of creating an online application for it. So it's you don't have to do as much like you would for the traditional 450 and up type loans, where you have to kind of work through the lender a little bit more. Not that people don't like talking to me, but but
and how much? What level do these go to? What's the max on these?
They go up to, I believe they're going up to 500,000 now. But I mean, ideally, they're really intended for that 50 to 200,000. I think that's the majority of what people are looking for, and they're open for all small businesses. But for the pharmacy space, what I'm seeing is pretty much where people are going to need that probably a month to a month and a half worth of inventory, purchases, working capital, whatever you want to call it.
So on this Rite Aid closure, Greco, it is interesting because you got the independents kind of shrinking as well.
Mm-hmm.
You got the chain shrinking.
I know.
There's really a mess in pharmacy right now. I mean, Congress has got to do something to get this right. I mean, there's going to be people not able to get medications, and I mean, it's really a terrible situation. But
Yeah, I encourage everybody go on LinkedIn and search Jay Phipps. You know, he was at this summer at the Syncora show. He just did a great post talking a lot about education about the need for PBM reform. It was a great post, and I mean, this is straight from the mouth of an owner who works in the communities and services patients, and he addressed that very issue, Scotty. So I agree with you. I think something has to be done, and he does call out for individuals reach out to your local representatives and educate them on what's needed. So something's got to happen because you know open enrollment's coming up, right? For Medicare. So if I know pharmacies are gearing up for that, I mean, if some of these challenges that we're seeing on the Medicare reimbursement side, on the Part D side, if those continue, yeah, I don't know. What's that going to be like?
Man, I know one thing. We have a lot of clients that are jumping into that as well and getting their, since they're doing the work in the pharmacy enrollment, I mean, the insurance enrollment anyway, they're getting their insurance license and they're at least benefiting from that.
Yeah, doing like a Medicare agent. Oh yeah. No, you're right. We have seen that, and
a lot.
Yeah, and I think that's great. I mean, those were some of the things that, like this summer, walking away from a lot of the shows, that was something that was on a lot of people's discussion points.
Yep, that was huge. Yeah, because they say they do the same amount of work, and obviously it's all for the number one goal is patient, care. So they're doing that anyway. They're trying to find the best plan for them that particular year. So why not get a small profit from your work that you're doing to help the patients? So I think it's great.
Yeah.
So we're seeing that a lot.
Yeah, and then I mean, I know people are doing cash pricing. I know people are doing that. People are doing a lot of the trying to get more of the at-home style of reimbursement, almost like it would be for long-term care, but servicing patients at home. I walked away this summer with a good sense that people had a really good positive attitude, that DIR fees are more clear, even though they haven't gone away. At least you can see it on the upfront. And I walked away with people having a good idea, like some of the things that we just talked about, as far as strategies to go into. But at the end of the day, I do agree with what Jay said, which is if real reform doesn't occur, these Medicare patients and the pharmacies that service them, the independents, are going to be continuing to get pressed. Now I know NCPA is doing a lot of good work on that as well.
Yes, obviously,
for sure.
I know they're on top of
it. A lot of people
Speaking of NCPA, that convention is coming up, trade show in October. Obviously, we also like to plug the ownership workshop that they do prior to the show, which is great.
I will be there.
You're going to be there. I will be there. Alan will be there. Jeff Baird from Brown and Fortunato, some others. So always like to plug that. That's a great 2-day program there for anybody looking to buy a store, do a startup, any of that. That's coming up as well. And I know they probably have a couple spots left if you want to make a last minute reservation for that.
That really is, and has always been. That really has been one of the one-stop shops where, I mean, it's like drinking through a water hose. It's a lot for people. I mean, I've kind of, I've been doing it for so long, and just been doing this for so long. It's you forget that some of these people who are just doing it for the first time are like, oh my God, you're getting hit with a lot of information. But it really is the best one-stop shop for people when you think about the legal, accounting, lending, and navigating through the X's and O's of ownership.
Marketing.
Marketing. I mean, it really hits everything.
You could cover a whole week, a whole month of that stuff.
You could. And then hearing from, obviously we're not pharmacists, but we try to be really good at what we do. But it is also nice to usually have 2 or 3 experts, those that have had really great success in that are pharmacists and have multiple stores. So it's always great to hear from them, people that are actually on that side of the bench. So if you don't take our word for it, you can take it from them.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, we had a call with a client this morning that mentioned it again. I don't even know why it came up, but they're like, the best thing we ever did was went to that. They've had, very successful pharmacy, 6 or 7 years in, and they were like, that's the best thing we ever did. We hear that a lot from people that did it. They're like, yeah, we met y'all 10 years ago at the so-and-so workshop. Yeah. So.
Saying we've got quite a bit of clients from that. But also I think the interesting thing is you always kind of think about it like people who are about to do something, either about to buy or about to start. But it seems like every time they have those, there's at least 1 or 2 current owners who have owned a store for like 2 or 3 years or 5, whatever it is. And they're there, and their main reason for being there is just like, listen, we just want to hear what are we or what are we not doing. And I've always found that like really cool, because that just means that you can never stop getting educated. And that's the whole idea behind continuing education, I guess.
Yeah. It used to be, we would always look at it as, hey, we're planting some seeds. And we'd hear from people a couple years later when they finally pulled they decided to do it. But no, usually we usually pick up 1 or 2 clients immediately. Like you said, they're there already. I always find it interesting that people are there that are not pharmacists at all. There's usually 1 or 2 that are just like, I just want to own a store. I want to own a pharmacy. Yeah. I'm like, all right, cool.
And they've already signed the lease and all this stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah. That way, if you already signed the lease, that's the one where it's like, all right, now you're really into it.
There's always like one guy or girl in the very front row that asks lots of questions, and you can see them the whole time. They're just like, oh, mess that up.
I'll never forget that one year where there was the gentleman, the husband and the wife, and they had like owned their store. I mean, they were well into what you would think was retirement. But they were like, no, we're still going strong and got our stores, and we're just here to continue to learn. I thought that's pretty cool.
Sometimes they'll send people that have been before, will send other staff members, or maybe a younger person that they're looking to maybe buy in or whatever in the store. They'll like, go to this workshop. Yeah. You'll learn so much. So it's really great.
Speaking of buy-ins, now that the SBA is allowed for buy-ins, partial buy-ins, we have actually seen I'm not going to say a big uptick, but we have seen a few come across, which is kind of nice to hear that, that is something that people are still looking at, and under the right structure and terms, it can be a good thing for people. So we are seeing some of that. So
the PIC Greco looking to get some skin in the game. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. Like a partial buy-in where people can, let's say you're buying in 60, 80, whatever the percentage is. We are seeing some of that come up. And if anything, as an option in a planned full exit out, maybe someone isn't ready to get out now for whatever reason, but they want to be able to kind of start that slow exit out. And it's just a nice thing. So we have, not a ton. It always comes up as part of the discussion and options when people are looking at deals. If it's not just a straight ahead look, I'm selling and I'm out. But we have seen, and we've even seen a couple people who have seen discussions online, through platforms like this about the option of it, and have come and said, hey, listen, this is something we're interested in. Can we learn more? It's still not a majority of what we do, but it's nice to see that those, now that, like I said, SBA allows for it, people are taking advantage of at least knowing the option. That's good.
Is there any difference in what you're doing with that versus like a junior partnership? I know we always get that question. Like, well, how do you feel about junior partnerships? And it used to be everybody was like, don't do them. And now, is that similar?
I think with the partial buy-ins, it essentially kind of is almost like a junior partnership. I think you have to know what you're getting into with both, right? Like what percentage are you going to be? What's your role? What are the terms and requirements if you do a partial buy-in through the SBA with an SBA lender? So all those kind of factors come into play, because based on the post-transaction ownership, whatever percentage people might have will play into who has to guarantee personally and who doesn't. But also it comes into, knowing, what the rules and regulations are going to be with regards to that ownership structure, who's going to have control, What's the operating agreement going to look like? I think historically people have always kind of said, well, junior partnerships are tough because you can't really get them financed from anywhere.
Right.
The only way you could really do it was through sweat equity or coming up with your own money to put into the thing. Yeah. The nice part is now that, at least there's that option to be able to get it financed if it works. And then of course, there's always the option for people to do a partial buyout or a stock redemption. If you have two partners that just are saying, hey, look, one wants out, the other one wants to stay in. We've always have done those.
Yeah. And that junior partnership, a big issue there in the past was that there was no lending, like you said, Greco.
Right. Okay.
And now that there's banks like yourself out there who know pharmacy and are willing to do that, it's changed that whole game. And
absolutely,
the junior partnership, a lot of that was the junior partner was picking that up as income on like a W-2, and so they're paying tax on that. So anyway.
Well, I think the bottom line here is that there's lots of opportunity for people, even in today's climate with a lot of the different things going on, to possibly buy a store, get their own store, start a new store. I mean, there's lots of options here.
Oh, I mean, absolutely. There are still, we're still very active in lending in this space.
Oh,
I mean, we're if anything right now, at least you have a clearer picture. From a bank's perspective, I feel we have a clearer picture on what businesses are going to do. And then once you get a full year of 24 and we're into 25, assuming people actually file their 24 tax returns on time, now you've just got a continued clearer picture of what the trends of the pharmacy are. And with the possibility of there being now an ease in the interest rates coming up, and hopefully going forward, as long as the trend continues of what the Feds want to see, I think it's gonna make for a clearer process. I will never say easier, because if there's one thing I've learned doing this, the process of buying and selling is never easy, but at least it can be a lot clearer.
There's always going to be curveballs.
Oh, man.
Always.
I can't go into it, obviously, but we had one we've been working with for 6 months that just went to shit last week. Out of nowhere. Out of nowhere. Like, something you would never think happens. And I'm like, this cannot be happening now. But
to borrow a phrase from Jeff Baird, when he always says, keep that kumbaya stage, keep that honeymoon stage going. And if you can do that, then that's great, because I agree with you, Bonnie. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
And this is one that you like, you eat it, because at the beginning I was like, oh man, this is going to go so smooth. It just was a great situation. Everything was great. Everybody was getting along, and it's
done till the ink's dry.
It's right. Yeah. I've actually, I've made it a rule on my team. We can't say, oh, this is going to be an easy one. No.
That's
That's
no chirping. Yep.
And no chirping. It's like,
I knew better, but still, I was like, this one is going to be a breeze. No.
I know what you mean. I mean, I think the thing we always do is we're just, you get excited when you've got two people, and we do the same thing. I do the same thing. You get excited when two people, you got a transaction, especially if it's a nice big one. It's a fun one to work on, and it's a gut blow when that whatever the thing changes. And I think sometimes, obviously, if it's a material change in the numbers, that's not much you can really do, right? I mean. Right. It obviously makes for a tough conversation with everybody, because the parameters of the lending or the parameters of the deal has changed. But sometimes it's just people are not ready. They get cold feet, they get whatever it might be, and things change. And I think that's the toughest one for everyone to swallow.
Yep.
That's why it takes a long time to plan, to prepare to get out and plan to get in. And so, Greco, going back to the Rite Aid thing, so what are you guys seeing? I mean, are you kind of pushing folks to that express loan? Like if a Rite Aid, you're seeing a bunch of scripts, a Rite Aid closed, What are you telling pharmacy owners that are coming to you guys on that? I've got a Rite Aid down the street that closed. I'm getting a lot of volume coming in the door. I need some help. Like, what's your response to that?
Well, I think if you're an existing owner and you're getting the volume in, you have to know, is it what kind of scripts are you, what's the mix, right? And I think the good news is people can start to see that. I'm going to say relatively quick, but then what does it mean long term going on when those patients are now in your store, and what if plans change and things like that? So for the immediate need, if they're seeing that and they feel like, listen, we're picking up X amount of scripts, and here's what we feel good about it. We need a couple $100,000 for working capital. Yeah, I mean, I think the express loan's a great option for it. For individuals who are looking to do expansions into a marketplace because there's been an exit of a pharmacy, the first question we're always going to ask them is, how's your first store doing? How's your first 2 stores doing? What are they performing like? And what's the market look like that you're going to enter into? If a chain is leaving, a lot of the times the great part about what the independent is, they can come in and they can operate on a much smaller overhead. But, the reimbursements on those prescriptions could be different. The buying power on those prescriptions, the drugs that you need, they're going to be different. So the margin is going to be a little different. I think and this also applies to the people who might be thinking about starting up. I think you have to work with the wholesaler that you have to see if they can do any kind of data analytics on the number of prescribers, the number of lives, what kind of prescriptions. And I tell you, some of this information that they have access to is really, really good stuff. So I think you have to work with your wholesaler first and foremost to see if they can get that, so you can have a good idea about what am I going to enter into, and is it a good move? Because we want to make sure people are doing things in a thoughtful way that aren't going to put their first or their original stores at any kind of risk.
Mm-hmm. I like that express loan because, as you know, you can grow yourself into a lot of trouble because your wholesaler's due in 10 or 15 days, but you're not getting reimbursed for 20, 30 days. So that cash flow issue can really hurt you.
And a small increase in some of these, backfill situations will make it even worse. Just huge. Yeah.
Yeah. I think for the working capital side, the express loan's a good option that people should explore. And it's not the only option, right? I mean, it's one of the options that we're offering, but I know owners that go through a litany of options. They either work with a wholesaler to increase the credit lines. I don't know how often that is successful or not. People have dating, again, don't know how successful that is. But some people are also, they've been saving up cash and they just want to fund it themselves. Some people are doing lines of credit. Then we have our express loan options that are out there for people, which is more of like a lump sum working capital, infusion, but smaller. And then on the expansion side, that's still, in my opinion, getting into the 500 and up, because depending on the area, I still think to start a pharmacy today, if you were just to like start it from scratch, whether it be in an expansion or just a strict startup, you probably need 500,000 minimum to get that going. And
that's what we tell people.
Yeah,
they don't like to hear it.
Right. And that's really
all about
where
the growth. If you're going to be successful, you want to grow quickly, and if you grow quickly, you're going to run out of cash.
Yeah, and that's where that express loan I don't think is I personally don't think is the right fit for that. Unless for some whatever reason people are like, no, listen, I'm in a market where I can do it for 350 or under 500, let's just say.
Yeah.
But other than that, I think that. So again, options. People just need to look through it, think through it, and be aware of what you're getting into too. I think that's the biggest thing. How are you going to staff it? I still hear staffing being an issue for some stores.
Oh yeah. They're having to pay a pretty penny for the staff these days. I heard that again this morning. Someone was saying,
yeah,
locations are different
right now.
Payroll's high.
Shrinking reimbursement margins are different. then you've still got the same payroll. So it's
expensive to live. So inflation's high. And
yeah. Well, I mean, geez, in my state of California, I mean, I had an owner joking with me. He goes, I walked into Panda Express, and on Panda Express on the sign, it said, "Inquire inside how you can reach compensation totals." Now we don't know what goes into that, but compensation totals of $100,000. And he goes, "Greco, if that's on the sign of Panda Express, I got to have a hard time getting texts and things like that." He goes, "That's the thing that we're struggling with." And so, like in a state like mine, that you're right, Bonnie. Cost of living is higher, but then also our minimum wage requirements are a lot higher, and you have this competition from other places.
Speaking of that, I don't know if you've ever been to a Buc-ees, Greco. You don't strike me as a Buc-ee type, but just saying. I've only been once, but when I went, do you not know what Buc-ees is?
No, see, that right there. Okay. Anybody who is probably, I just called myself out as a West Coaster right there by asking what's Buc-ees. I don't know what Buc-ees is.
From California.
Okay, what about? Oh, you ever been to an In-N-Out? No, you haven't, huh? Because they're only in California. Oh, okay.
Now, for the first time last year, I had an In-N-Out cheeseburger, and it was life-changing. Scotty was with me. He took us through. It was supposed to be like a 1-mile walk in Vegas, and it ended up being like 5 miles. Anyway, we got it.
I don't want to ask I don't want to ask why in Vegas you needed the burger, but we'll leave.
We just decided. Well, there was another guy there, employee with us that loved it, and he was like, "I can't believe you haven't had this," and so we had.
We went for lunch, and they were building the new racetrack around.
Oh yeah.
We kept getting rerouted, and anyway, Buc-ees is a gas station. You need to look this up when you get off. It's a very big Southern thing.
All right, Buc-ees. What state?
I brought it up everywhere. They're everywhere.
Everyone in the South.
But when I went the last time, there were signs as you were walking into the entrance. Like every foot was a huge sign about you can make $100,000 here.
Yeah.
As the manager, 80,000 as this, whatever, 70 if you do this. Like they were promoting very high salaries, for the gas station.
Yeah, I mean it's a real thing. So I think the good
really
owners.
Went off mark, but anyway, we went down a Buc-ees at an In-N-Out thing really quick. But hey, it's important.
That's all right. When I was in Texas for the first time, this is a long time ago. I've been to Texas a long time. Love all my Texas clients. Love all the states, especially the southern ones too. And if anybody wants to take me to a Buc-ees next time, I'm happy to go check it out.
Buc-ees may have started in Texas. There's a lot.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. Well, yeah, they people, there was always that thing about Whataburger, and they were like, "Well, you never had a Whataburger?" So they took me to Whataburger. Pretty good, Same as In-N-Out too. I like In-N-Out as well.
In-N-Out's better.
I like Cookout. Nobody knows about it.
I'm a little more of a. I'm assuming Cookout barbecue. Is that the?
They have everything.
Oh, that's an actual restaurant.
It's a restaurant.
It's a fast food restaurant. But you can get a tray, Greco, and you pick 3 things, which would normally be like a meat and 2 sides, but you can get like chicken nuggets, a hot dog, and a hamburger. Like all those things are your sides.
Their
they
food
don't care.
is the side, so like, yeah.
I like
it. You can get a burrito.
I'm here for it. I'm with it. Let's
some tater tots and a hot dog.
And there is no kale salad.
Kale
drink.
Oh man.
Ginger root.
But you can get a bacon milkshake, which I have not tried.
A bacon milkshake, man.
It sounds disgusting, but I have not tried this. But it is on the menu.
I will take a hard pass on that. By the way,
I got a buddy in North Carolina that. Every time if we go to a Chick-fil-A and I order the kale side salad, he just like stares at me and goes, "Dude, you're not in California. Would you please stop?"
I've had that. It's not bad.
Can't do.
Gotta stay healthy.
I got sick on kale, food poisoning on kale one time.
Ooh,
oh, that's right.
So never again. but
that was like one of your favorite little like side dish salad-y things from that place.
God, it was terrible. Greco, anything else you want to cover?
No, I mean, I think we hit it.
I think we wrapped it up right there with all those important topics at the end.
A lot going on, man. There's just a lot going on in pharmacy right now. I mean, it's just changes and PBM and closures and different areas of revenue now, 503B compounding, long-term care. I mean, it's just changing reimbursement. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff. And I think this payroll thing we just touched on is huge too. I mean, I think there's a lot of opportunity in pharmacies to get, more efficient, more lean technology in there. AI is coming up around the corner, or it's already here, and how that's going to impact pharmacy operations. So there's just a lot out there, Greco.
So all these different streams of revenue everybody's jumping into to try to make it, So it's hard to keep your hand and fingers on everything that's going on and understand it. But
yeah.
But all that being said, I mean, I think it's all good. I think it's I think the things are moving in the right direction for sure. I mean, just got to get this PBM reform done, which has bipartisan support, which passed the Senate in January.
Oh, yeah.
Didn't pass the House, or it was one or the other. Passed the House, didn't pass the Senate, because there was tax changes in there.
Yes.
So it's close. It's close. So hopefully, depending on this election, what California decides over there.
California decides the election.
No. Don't blame me for that. All right. I contributed with In-N-Out. Then good kale. That's where it is.
Now I'm hungry, so that's not good.
No, you're right, Scotty. I mean, we did touch a lot. I mean, we hit everything from the fact that I can't put together a front and a back nine, to interest rates dropping hopefully and seeing some easing there, and obviously these chain closures, people continuing to work through that, opportunities out there for people to take advantage if it makes sense, and we ran through the restaurants that are the food that's out there originally. I mean, this is going to go down as one of the better podcasts we've done.
It might
be. Went from, you started with the kale drink and we ended with the bacon milkshake.
Hey.
And everything in between.
I bet you if you did a poll out there, you're going to see a lot of kale eaters, a lot of people that like that.
Anybody listening in, put in your favorite fast food restaurant down in the comments.
Oh, yeah. There you go. Yeah, there we go.
And everybody harass Greco for not knowing what Buc-ees is.
Sorry. I will know. I'm going to Google it, and next time I'm in that region, I'm going to
just go to
Buc-ees.
YouTube and watch. There's got to be 8 million videos, and then it's going to start popping up on your phone and all your social media, so you'll be completely educated in it. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Well, Greco, always a pleasure. Thanks for hopping on, and we'll have to do it again.
Yes.